race fans. Today we're at Glen Park for the Mid-Atlantic Super Series final. Even though we haven't raced any of the races, this is Ryan and I's first real enduro. We've slept in our cars overnight. We're ready bright and early in the morning to get our Shreddy on. So yesterday we came and did some practicing, scouted out all the stages, got some third-person shots so we can splice those into today's footage. And Ryan's going to be wearing a chest mount as well as myself, so we should be able to get a lot of angles. What? And pretty excited because this is a pretty technical and fast trail system, and we've been here a few times before, but it's definitely not our local spot. So there's a lot of fast guys here, but we're just going to kind of have fun, keep it together, hopefully. So let's get to racing. Get to racing. Cringe.
Alright, so I'm going to do a bit of race commentary for this video, and I gotta talk about the elephant in the room. Ryan is riding a new Pivot Firebird with, I believe, 170mm of travel, and I'm still on my Commencal Meta TR V4 with 120mm of travel and 27.5-inch wheels. So I'm super interested to see what the results are like. I set up the timestamps on each of one of our runs, so the time is our own time at that section. So if you want to get nitty gritty, you can compare our times throughout the video, and I'll probably point out some sections where we make up time on each other or we lose time. So without further ado, let's get into the race. So our age group actually started on stage 4, but I'm going to start off the video on stage 1, and I gotta say that this is probably the most intense stage. It's pretty long. It's not a lot of pedaling at the top like some of the other stages, so you carry speed the whole way down, and it's got a lot of mandatory features. And speaking of which, we're going to come up to probably the most technical section on this trail, featuring a big rock in the middle where they set up the cameras. Me and Ryan scouted this out quite a bit, watched a lot of people just jump the whole thing. Ryan probably did it the best, where he kind of rolled up onto it very fast, and it just gave you a little bit of a lift and fly right over it, where I kind of took it a little bit slower. It was interesting because some of the fastest guys were actually threading the needle between the tree on the right of the rock and the rock itself, so you could carry the most speed through this section. After those fast shoots, you end up in the roto tunnels, which were actually kind of wet and greasy, so I didn't feel that confident going through there, and we end this stage with Ryan having 7 seconds up on me. After climbing back up the hill, we drop into stage 2, and this stage I think I actually have the advantage because the top part is very pedally. My hope was I could put enough of a gap on Ryan that he couldn't get back to me in the steeper sections that kind of finish out this stage. Now looking at the footage, it seems like my plan is working out, because as we come up to this big rock, I've got 9 seconds up on Ryan. But now the trail's going to start getting steeper, and I'm going to be on the brakes way more than he is. And he starts really flowing, while I just keep getting caught up in every rock section. And I actually get a little bit spooked at one point because I really hit a hard G out, and I almost put my waist into the bars. This rocky chute was an absolute mess, and my 27.5-inch wheels were begging for mercy, while Ryan's 29ers were sailing on through. Honestly, I think it's pretty cool to see the difference in composure between Ryan and I, because then going into the next section of a couple tight berms, I actually navigate it quite a bit better than Ryan, who's coming in with a lot of speed. But it's a bit of a give and take, right? And luckily I'm able to wrap up the win on this stage with 5 seconds up on Ryan, which means he's leading me by 2 seconds overall. Up next was of course stage 3, which had a pretty interesting gully section where you kind of drop down into it, step up out of it, and then following that there's a weird rock drop that's way too short for the speed that you're carrying, so you kind of have to navigate to the side of it and then skirt back right. It's a pretty weird move, but we spent a lot of time checking this section out, and it leads into a long fast shoot afterwards. So I was pretty pleased with how I rode that section. We spent a lot of time on it, so I'm glad that it paid off. I didn't ride it quite as smooth as I would have liked, but that's alright. And then going into the rest of this stage, it's got some steep sections here and there, but it's definitely more of a pedally stage than stage 1, for example. So I think it lended quite nicely to my shorter travel bike once again, and I seem to be able to keep a gap on Ryan the whole way through. This section was actually stupid fast, and then going into this steep section, I'm like crawling because I was really trying to maintain composure. Didn't want to get all squirrely at the bottom of the corner, but Ryan definitely did this way faster than me. For the rest of the stage it was pretty straightforward, but going through this fast section, there's a little turn right here, but if you actually spot it, there's a little jump to the right of this tree. That would probably be faster, and I bet a lot of the local people might take that line. Something to notice for next time. So I ended up wrapping up this stage with a 3:30, and Ryan did a 3:37. Now we're on to stage 4, which was actually our first stage of the day, as you can tell by my sweater. I was kind of upset that this was our first stage, because definitely not the best one to warm up on. Not that really any of these are great to warm up on, but it had a nice big road gap sort of thing that we worked on the day before. A lot of kind of off-camber single track that traverses the hill, which can make it difficult to go fast, but overall it was a really fun stage. This section right here is actually one of the steepest sections that'll catch you off guard considering the general high speed of the rest of the trail. So I found myself scrubbing a lot of speed to make it through, and there will be 2 other sections just like that. After the gap, there's another gap that's more intimidating with more of a knuckle to it, and the day before Ryan kept trying with some pretty brave attempts, but he decided to not go for it during the race run. Then we finished off with the 2 other steep sections, where this one I totally got caught off guard by the camera. Was not looking too steezy there, but that's alright. And then we finished off with the really greasy section. Ryan ended up pulling it off perfectly, and maybe that's why he took the win for this stage. Last but not least is stage 5, which starts out pretty flat with some nice open corners, but eventually we're going to go plunging down into probably one of the hardest rock gardens on the whole mountain. Of course, there were a bunch of cameras there to catch the wreckage, and luckily I made it through alright, albeit quite slow. So to finish out this stage, Ryan did take the win on me by a couple seconds, and he beat me overall by about 7 seconds, which is pretty close. Of course I'm mad I didn't beat him, but considering the difference in our bikes and relatively similar skill level, I think that it panned out pretty much as we would have expected. And I'm really glad that neither of us had any crashes. It can be pretty intimidating to show up to these events, especially when this isn't your local place. And you might feel like you really have to put it all on the line, but really we never felt that way. We didn't feel intimidated by any other racers, and it was a great community to be a part of for the weekend. And I would really love to do it again, and in other places as well. I didn't feel like I had some kind of huge pressure on my shoulders to just go stupid fast and have no regard for my own safety. And I think I executed my race plan of keeping it together quite well. So that's all you can really ask for, right? Though I do wish that I had come to do some practice not the day before the race, because Ryan and I were definitely way more exhausted and couldn't really pedal on the flat sections like we really wanted to. Definitely some room for improvement for next time. But also I got to improve my in the car sleeping arrangements, because that was not too comfortable. Hopefully next time I'll have like a little blow up mattress or something to eliminate the ridge of my back seats against my spine. But overall, I was really glad that we did this event. Gotta thank the Pocono Bike Club for putting this event together, and hopefully you enjoyed watching. And remember, stay venturing, my friends.